Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to another Princess Connect video. So today we are actually going to be talking about the Battle Arena and the Princess Arena. Now, if I recall, we did just get an announcement this morning, at least at the time of making this video, that the Princess Arena Shuffle is going to be on the 13th, I believe, of February. Yeah, February 13th, which gives us, what, just under 2 weeks before this thing is going to happen. So I'm sure a lot of you are probably trying to race as high as you can within the Princess Arena right now. So with that said, this video, we're going to try and cover as much as we can. We're going to take a look at the current meta, and we're going to take a look at the meta teams. And on top of that, I'm going to share some possible counters for those teams. And then we're going to take a look into some more team building kind of stuff. So some strategies that I have used to help climb. And then on top of that, we're going to talk about some character specific things that we can do, or things that you should know, especially when you're trying to climb the Princess Arena. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the current meta. So we'll take a look. I've made a list right here. This is pretty much what I have come across and seems to be the most common teams right now, and I'm sure to no one's surprise, it is riddled with Halloween Shinobu. It is pretty much a Halloween Shinobu meta right now. This top team is the most common version of Halloween Shinobu that I see plaguing everywhere. There are different variations of it, and depending on the variation depends on the possible counter, but for the sake of this right now, this is the one that seems to be most prominent. So let's go ahead and talk about what it does and how we can counter it. Essentially, what it does is it pretty much just boosts the living crap out of Halloween Shinobu, and then Tsumigi's there just doing her thing. And the combination of that means you can't really run too many squishies, and when it's paired with Mitsuki, you can't really run any midline to kind of frontline DPS, because they will just get absolutely cleaved. Now, funny enough, the only, or the most, let's say the most consistent counter to this team is actually just to pretty much have to run your own Halloween Shinobu team. And with that, you pretty much just run these three. The point of this mirror team is to essentially take out their Shinobu before they take out yours. In this scenario, what you're trying to do is make sure that their Union Burst doesn't hit your Shinobu. So for instance, at the start of the fight, it's always going to be a flip coin. If your Halloween Shinobu goes off first and kills theirs, okay, cool, you've just won. If theirs goes off first, you need something to protect your Halloween Shinobu, so you basically just have to run a taunt. So you can run New Year Ray, you can run Kuka. I believe you can also run Ruka, but unfortunately I don't have her. And I know she also has higher physical defense, so in this scenario she could actually be a better option. Unfortunately I don't have her, so I haven't been able to test her. But basically running this right here pretty much ensures the fact that your Halloween Shinobu will get theirs, because even if theirs goes off first, New Year Ray is here to basically taunt the damage, and as long as she survives the initial hit, your Halloween Shinobu goes off immediately after, killing theirs, and then you're pretty much just free to clean up. The last spot is pretty much, you can use a lot of different things. You could run June if you really wanted to for the occasional spot heal. You could run Nozomi for, you got an extra taunt if you ever feel like you need it. She also gives a little bit of physical attack, and she provides a little bit of AoE healing. I prefer using something like Shizuru just to kind of help with some of that physical damage that's coming in. She's not great currently right now, but she provides just enough defense to help. So something like this directly counters this team right up here with the Tsumigi. Now, if they're not running Tsumigi, it opens up your options a little bit. You can actually run some of the backline squishies. So for instance, if they're running, I don't know, a second tank or something like that, that opens up your options to where you could literally run, in this scenario, you don't really need to run any mages. You are pretty much safe to run something along the lines of You can run Christina. Christina definitely survives, but I would highly recommend just running archers. Archers in the back will just be out of her reach, and she will be able to just clean through. You could run one mage if you really wanted to, but if they don't have the Sumigi, you're definitely free to run backline damage. But for this is, like I said, this is the most common one, so this is the one I'm going to be showing. There is, at the end of the video, I do have a bunch of showcase for some of these counters that I am suggesting, so I'm not just kind of sat here, you know, suggesting all of this stuff. There's a bunch of videos at the end of these in action, so if you want to check them out, that's where they are. Moving on, another dominant team I see everywhere is just your typical Tsumigi stall. This one's been around a little bit longer. It's still a real pain in the butt, but luckily there is actually a one-all solution for this, and it actually comes in the form right here, UE Eriko. If you are maybe more clan battle focused and you're still wanting to push arenas, and you have a strong UE Eriko and you are stuck against Sumigi stalls or any kind of stalls at the matter, and you haven't used her in arena, you're going to have some fun. UE Eriko absolutely decimates stall teams in arena right now. If you can keep her alive and provide a little bit of support, she'll just clean house, completely clean house. You pair her together with someone like Christina as well, and these two alone is all you need to take out stall teams at the moment. Physical teams or some of the physical characters we have right now are so dominant that we're starting to see less Miyakos and we're starting to see less teams that are trying to defend them just because they're just doing a poor job. Physical teams are just so strong right now. So if you have UE Eriko, even if you don't, you can run certain physical comps. For instance, with Christina, just try and pair them with other characters that have defense breaks. Makoto is actually surprisingly strong right now and actually deals a decent amount of damage. You try and use tanks that have defense breaks like June. If you happen to have New Year Ray, she's fantastic too. If you have normal Ray with her UE, she's actually quite good as well. But that's pretty much what I would recommend for any of these stall teams. Physical teams is kind of where it's at with those. So if you have UE Eriko, like I said, throw her into a team. An example of a good team for her would be June and Nozomi, because Nozomi's going to give a... Well, one, she's going to have her taunt, and she's going to have some of that AoE healing. June has physical break and spot healing, which is fantastic. Pretty much this right here will break through any taunt. Just keep in mind that if it is a Sumigi stall, you always want, unless you are running New Year Ray, you always want to go double tank or have someone in the second position who is relatively beefy. Some characters who are beefy, who you could run in the second position, are Tsumigi and Yukari. They're actually quite tanky, and chances are that even if they get pulled forward because of Tsumigi, they're not going to die just because of how beefy they are by the time you start cleaning through. So these are options to have in the second. Otherwise, run a double tank. If you are, the reason why I say if you're running New Year Ray is New Year Ray taunts so fast at the start of the fight that when Sumigi goes to pull the second target, she takes it. So she just moves further up. And so by the time Sumigi gets her Union Burst off and pushes the front line back and the back line in, New Year Ray just goes straight back into her normal position, which buys you a lot of time. So New Year Ray is kind of like the one tank that you can run if you're ever up against Sumigi. Another thing, just a quick side note, and this is just something we're actually going to dive into later when we talk about the team building strategies and stuff. If you are up against a Sumigi, don't run Saren. I know Saren is a fantastic TP boost and she's generally a really good character, but Saren's entire kit revolves around TP boosting the nearest target, where Sumigi's kit is literally moving your team around all over the place. So yeah, chances are further into the fight, Saren's going to get moved and then she's going to be TP boosting the wrong target. They just don't use Saren against Sumigi. That's just one of those things I kind of want to throw out while I'm thinking of it. So that kind of clears up this. This is actually a funny one. This is one that's started to pop up a little bit more recent, and it actually has Tamaki with her UE and Orisa with her UE. And if you aren't sure what they do, they basically enhance their kits already that make them mage killers. They just snipe mages beyond belief. And this is one that's kind of become dominant because it forces you to not run a mage, which means you have to deal with Miyako without a mage, which is kind of a pain. And it's actually a lot of frontline damage because Orisa's very strong right now, especially with her UE. The funny thing about this, and this is something we will also cover about when making teams and making teams that do certain things very well, the most successful counter I have to this complete utter mage team or anti-mage team is literally a mage melt team. If you run Nozomi, Akari, Monica, Summer Carol, and Kyoka, if you run these four minus the Kyoka, because of the speed, the action speed you're getting from Monica at the start of the fight, plus Nozomi's stun, plus the magic defense break of these two, Miyako dies before she gets out of Nozomi's stun. That's how fast you can deal with Miyako with just these four characters right here. So in a situation like this where you're up against these guys, chances are that these guys will probably snipe someone in the same time it takes you to take out Miyako. But because of the Orisa running into your Nozomi, who is solo tanking, Nozomi's going to take enough damage to where she's going to use her taunt before Tamaki manages to get off hers. And as long as Nozomi taunts the Tamaki, this team will clear house before they get a second chance to take out another mage. So oddly enough, the best solution to this complete anti-mage team, or what looks to be an anti-mage team, is a hardcore mage melt team. And like I said, I'll showcase it at the end of the video if you don't believe me. That it could change if they change it up a little bit. If they decide, okay, well, Miyako's not working, I'll try something else. But as it stands right now, this is the, let's just call it Tamaki Orisa team right now. And they seem to be running these. And Mage Melt works. The final team we're going to take a look at is, and this one's kind of gone a little bit out of style, but is definitely still around, especially in Princess Arena. And it's the double Kokoro stall. And it was dominant when we had a very hard time dealing with both Miyako and Kuka. But like I said, physical teams are so strong right now that Kuka just gets absolutely floored. And with the right physical setup, you can push through Miyako now. There was a little bit of time where we couldn't kill Miyako. Now we can. So some examples of who you could use to defeat these is a common setup that you see to destroy these two. And as long as you take out these two, this is kind of easy going. All you have to do is run Monica, Suzuna, and Summer Carol. Those three right there will take out Miyako and Kuka faster than before any Kokoro can get their UBs off to save them. So this is just an easy solution if you happen to have these. Another option you can actually do is any kind of Tsumugi cleave team. So if you pair Tsumugi, say for instance, with Halloween Shinobu and Mitsuki, those together will clean house. Keep in mind, if you run this, you do have to run something to take care of the Miyako, so you'd probably want to run Summer Carol in the back. Something like that would easily take care of that team. You could honestly run the team I always use against, if I ever see this and I have the option to choose, I run a Summer Peck team and with a Saren TP boost. So this right here is what I would use against a double Kokoro team. Tsumugi gathers them up, Summer Pepperco does her thing. Tomo is still one of the best physical characters to take out Miyako, so keep that in mind. I did do a spotlight video on her ages ago, but if you haven't seen that, Tomo is very good at providing both incredible single target and a little bit of cleave damage, or decent cleave damage, honestly. So this is just another team, you can deal with those. So, okay, so that pretty much covers all of the meta stuff. Before we actually dive into some character-specific things and some strategies for building teams and whatnot, let's quickly take a look at the actual Princess Arena screen. There are a few things that I think are worth mentioning in here really quick. One of them being, and this is kind of a little bit of a disclaimer real quick I just want to make going forward, is if you are a new player, I just want you to know that Princess Arena really isn't new player friendly. It's just worth mentioning. Because you do need to win 2 out of 3, meaning you need to have at least 2 teams of 5. So you got to have at least 10 characters relatively geared, ideally more, so that you can kind of tune those teams wherever you need. And you're just not going to have that as a new player. I'm not saying that to put you off by any means. Throw what you can at it. Everything that we're pretty much covering in this video also pretty much applies to Battle Arena, where I strongly recommend new players focus on. So just something I wanted to say out there. If you are a new player and you're watching this, don't stress too much over Princess Arena. It really is tailored more to people who have been playing longer or just have strong rosters. Otherwise, focus on Battle Arena right now and come back to this at a later date. Just kind of wanted to put that out there. So the few things I wanted to talk here, and they're just kind of like little tips I think that are handy, is if you take a look here, right here on the right, we have 3 separate teams that we can choose from when choosing who we want to fight for our daily 5 attempts. Always choose the top one. Honestly, never choose the bottom 2, simply because you're always going to get the most ranks gained from defeating the top team. And if you really don't think you can defeat this one, just refresh until you come up across someone that you think you might be able to. So take a look at this one. We can get to 66th all the way from 77th, and so on and so forth. This is going to net you so much more. It's not a huge gap right now, but when you're up in like the thousands or whatnot, you're going to be jumping 100-200 places from this top team. So I honestly can't remember the last time where it doesn't matter if I'm trying to float at a high rank or reclimb because I've kind of slacked off. I can't remember the last time I chose the 2nd or the 3rd team down here. Always choose the top team. It's always just going to be a better option. That said, the second little bit of tip I kind of want to suggest here is this guy right here. These little numbers that you see right here, the party power for each team, completely ignore it. Party power is an illusion. It means absolutely nothing in Arena. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what are you talking about? It's the total power of the party. Obviously that means something. It really doesn't. Arena, and which we're going to get to in just a second, but Arena really comes down to like 2 things. You've got, when it comes to teams at least, you've got your teams that you've put together that work together. For instance, you've got a Halloween Shinobu team, or you have an Ilya team, you have a Mage Melt team. You have these teams that work and they do something specific, or you're going to be building a team that directly counters the team that you're up against. Those are really your 2 options when it comes to Arena. There are times where you could have someone who's 5,000 party power higher than you, but if you build a team that directly counters them, you're still going to win. And that is said for even at top 100, top 10. There are times where my party power is significantly lower, but I've won. I've come out on top easily because I've countered them. So party power is a complete myth. Don't pay attention to it. If you are still leveling and you're still kind of like climbing and whatnot, pay attention to levels. That's really the only thing you pay attention to. Otherwise, you're just going to be looking at team composition. Arena is all about team composition and knowing how to counter them. So ignore party power. Always choose this one at the top. As you can see here, if you're not aware, I'm 77th right now, and I can no longer see party 2 or party 3. This happens. I don't know what the thresholds are. So let's just say, for off the top of my head, let's just say top 1000, and you can only see the first 2 teams. Top 500, you can only see party 1. And then I know at top 50th and higher, you don't get to see any teams. That's just normal. there are a few things you can think about when challenging those. It's really going to come down to what you can see and then measure it about what you can't see. I know this is all kind of self-explanatory, but if I take a look at this team right here, they've used their Miyako, Kuka, Yukari, which are that's 2 of their tanks and 1 of their main supports. So I know moving forward, they obviously don't have those at their disposal. So we can expect something in Party 2 and Party 3 to be something maybe along the lines of Peck and Nozomi, or maybe Lima and Nozomi, or something along those lines. That's the only information you can really gather from this. Otherwise, one thing I will suggest is if you get up to rank 100 or more, and you're getting down to where you can only see the first team, or maybe your 50th or higher, and you can't see any of the teams, your best course of action is when you are that high and you're really trying to push for first, refresh and just go as far as you can. You spend the jewels, you'll make it back. If you really think you can push, attack the same person twice. So what you can do is you can, let's say you're rank 49 and you can't see any of the parties, attack the guy at the top. Hopefully he's going to take you to rank like 39 or something. It's usually about a 10 difference at these levels. If you win, great, move on. If you lose, take a look at your battle history down here, look at the details. You can now see what you're up against. Wait for your timer to finish. Modify your teams that you need right here. Go back in once your timer's over, face the exact same guy, and then, hopefully you'll win. And pretty much do that all the way until you've, as far as you can, hopefully won. But those are just some things I wanted to mention here on the Princess Arena actual screen. Let's now take a look at some character-specific stuff and some team-building things. Now, this really does or could warrant its entire own separate video. There's a lot I could cover. What I want to cover in this video, at least, is to just kind of show you guys some examples of some team-building ideas and some characters that either are utilized to their full potential, or if you're not utilizing them, are quite poor. I know I'm kind of waffling through this, but I'll show you in just a second. When it comes to the character stuff, a perfect example of someone who is an invaluable asset if used correctly, but if used incorrectly is just absolutely useless, is someone like Mitsuki. And so this is one of those things you need to consider when you're building a team. If you're going to use someone like Mitsuki, her major benefit to having on any team is her Field of Thorns ability right here. And you've probably seen it. It's a huge physical defense drop for pretty much the entire party. You want to pair her up. If you've been playing for a while, you're probably fully aware of Reno Cannon that utilizes Mitsuki perfectly. We're seeing it now with Halloween Shinobu. There are some Summer Peck teams. There are some Ninon teams. Those are teams that fully utilize Mitsuki's kit. And an example is if you don't use that. So for instance, Summer Peck, and I don't really use Ninon, but I believe Ninon also needs some TP boost in order for it to line up properly. If you just throw Summer Peck in with Mitsuki, it's not going to work. Mitsuki's not going to do anything. She needs some kind of TP assistance to make sure that when Summer Peck uses her huge Union Burst, lines up with Mitsuki's field. If it doesn't line up, it does half the damage that it would. If it does line up, you'll cream through. So Mitsuki's one of those examples that I just wanted to highlight here, to where if you use her correctly, she's insanely good, but if you use her incorrectly, she does next to nothing. Another example is, and we touched up earlier as well, but just for the sake of the video, is if you are against a Tsumigi and your primary team happens to run Saren, you might want to consider modifying that team a bit, because Tsumigi essentially makes Saren almost useless. Chances are after the first Union Burst, your team's going to get muffled up just enough to where Saren might TP boost the wrong target. Now, that's not maybe all the case. Now, if you manage to kill Tsumigi fast enough, sure, fine. But just this is one of those things you need to consider whenever you're trying to build a team. Now, it's a little different. It's going to be different for everybody, right? Because everybody's going to have a different roster. Everyone's going to have, some people are going to have strong clan battle oriented play characters. Some people are just going to have characters that they enjoy. It's all fine. There's a lot of room. There's a surprisingly amount of room to actually progress in Arena, providing you just know how to counter. And that's where the next part that we're going to talk about is a little bit more. There's only so much I can really share. It really is going to come down to what you have in your roster and what you decide to pursue. So let's put it this way. I like to think of Arena as two different types of team building strategies. You, on the one hand, you have the obvious team building ideas where you can take a look and say, okay, Halloween Shinobu is the meta. I'm going to make a meta team. And there are teams you can find online. You can just literally look in the Princess Arena or Battle Arena pages and see what people are using. And then you can cut and paste. That's fine. You're going to need teams that are well constructed like that when you're trying to climb. But the other part to consider is whenever you are trying to climb, you have to design teams that are going to directly counter. And like I said, it's kind of hard for me to suggest a bunch of stuff because it's really going to depend on your roster. But at the end of the day, what you want to do is, and I can't remember the last time I have actually gone into a team like this and literally just gone to my parties. I have set parties that I use for Arena all the time. I never just use a cut and paste team whenever I'm trying to reclimb. Every time I choose a target, just a character to go against, I always make modified teams whenever I'm going through. So for instance, here's an example of what I would do right here. I would take a look at this team and say, okay, I need at least a mage to take this out. I can see Halloween Miyako is getting double TP boosted, so she's going to go off incredibly fast. So I'm definitely going to need a taunt. I do need someone to deal with the Miyako. So if I want to deal with her incredibly fast, I could run something like, where is the other one? I could run something like that. And then finally, I wouldn't mind having something a little bit more beefy to take out the rest of them. This is something I would probably run. I might sit and ponder on this a little bit longer, but for the sake of the video, let's just say this is what I would do. Now that I know what's been used here, I know that they've already used Miyako and Peck and Yukari. So my guess would probably be that their next team's probably going to be some kind of Halloween Shinobu or Ninon with a Lima. So then I would build a team that I think directly counters that. Now, I could be completely wrong, obviously, but this is what I do every time I try to climb. I don't have set teams that I just throw in there. I always try to use what resources I have, and then just build teams. Now, I realize not everybody has access to a roster like this, but this is something you're definitely going to want to learn along the way, is how to counter. Because countering is a huge part when it comes to not only climbing Arena, but trying to maintain a high rank in Arena. If you know how to counter, it'll go so much more smoother for you than if you were to just copy a bunch of meta teams and throw them in there and then just kind of like hope for the best. So like I said, it's different for everybody. I kind of wanted to just sum up some of this stuff now in this video. Like I said, there's a lot you could really go into when it comes to team building stuff, but if that is something people are actually interested in, go ahead and say something in the comments. If that's what people are looking for, I'm quite happy to do something like that. But for the sake of this, and I've probably gone on for way too long already, I just wanted to share some thoughts when it comes to team building things and how I've done some things to climb and maintain a high rank. So with that said, let's call the video there. I'm going to move on quickly to the last couple videos of the counter teams we were talking about for the meta earlier. I'm going to do a quick commentary over those. Otherwise, feel free to mute and just watch if you really want to. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Next video, I am going to be taking a look at the banner schedule. After, quick little thing I want to add right at the end actually, is after the Muimi banner, which we currently are on, there is going to be a massive change in the arena meta. You think Halloween Shinobu is bad. The character that's coming after Muimi is going to be insane. And it's not a physical character. So if you're interested in something like that, I am going to be doing a banner video. Keep an eye out for it. Hopefully it'll be out within the next few days, ideally. But otherwise, you know, hopefully you gathered something from this video. Let's move into the final clips, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Okay, so the first team that's up is the Halloween Shinobu mirror that we were talking about. As you can see, they get their UB off first, which goes straight into our Ray just in time. Ours goes off immediately afterwards and manages to kill her. That's pretty much what we want. Ray's gonna go down, but she did her job. All we needed her to do is just tank that first hit, and now it's just a matter of pretty much cleaning up. We still have to get through the Nozomi, which shouldn't be too much of an issue, given how they're already down 2 key characters, and Nozomi's already relatively low health. This is pretty much straightforward at this point. All you have to do is deal with the Shinobu, and you can pretty much just cleave down the rest. Shizuru is a great 5th character here. You definitely want a second tank or someone like Shizuru just to help sustain everybody else through this at the end. Nozomi works. You could honestly run June, but Shizuru works good for this. So there's a common team to destroy the Halloween Shinobu teams. This is a little bit more of an experimental team. So this is a Tsumigi stall team, but with a, who is that? God, I forget her, Yori, with her unique equipment in the back. So this is just another example of a solo New Year Ray tank setup to where you can still get through a Tsumigi stall team. It works pretty much the same way. Yukari's going to keep New Year Ray alive. She's going to provide some AoE damage. Carol's going to take out the Miyako. Shinobu's there just for the sheer power that she brings and to take out the New Year Ray. And then Monika's just providing support. In this setup, Yukari is also TP boosting Halloween Shinobu. So Shinobu's going to be getting it out much more often. And it's kind of the same concept. It gets a little close here, but Yukari kind of brings it back. But this is just another example of something you can use to destroy Tsumigi stalls. This would probably still work even if they had the Maho in the back, in all honesty. But this is just kind of like, again, you can, there's room to experiment, providing that you counter at least some of their stuff. And then the next team is, okay, so this is another Tsumigi stall, but with a Ninon instead of the Yori in the back, also with unique equipment. And again, this is just another demonstration of choosing what you need to focus on or what you need to destroy. Ninon is clearly the threat here, so I wanted to try a Halloween Miyako snipe, which worked fine. Once we got rid of the threat, it's pretty much just having to deal with Tsumigi stall again. This time we have all of our characters alive, and that's 2 down already. Carol is always going to deal with the Miyako. Kind of the same thing, but it just goes to show, without running, for instance, the Monika and the Ray, in this situation we just wanted to TP boost the Halloween Miyako, and we still managed to clean through it. Now, Halloween Shinobu and Summer Carol still kind of are the MVPs of the matches, because just of what they bring, but taking out that Ninon made it so much easier. And then just to round it up, this is the final team. This is the anti-mage versus the mage melt. As you can see, Miyako and Kyoko went down almost instantly at the start of the fight. Nozomi takes just enough damage to where she can taunt the Tamaki, and then once we had that, it was pretty much in the bag. Both tanks are down. Summer Carol's going to finish up Tamaki, and then it's just a matter of cleaning up the last 2. So, there you go. hopefully you gained something from this. Leave a comment if there's anything I missed or if there's anything you want me to look at in the future. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next one.